Hey folks, AJ the CEO here, and in this video, we're going to walk you through how to set up the Fomako PTZ camera and joystick, because a bunch of y'all have had some issues, and we want to use this as a guide to help walk you through and get it all working. So let's go. Hey folks, AJ the CEO here. It's the first time stopping by the channel. Thanks for stopping by. And on this channel, we focus on tips, training, strategies, reviews, and builds to help modernize your media ministry. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. And if you like what we're doing here, consider becoming a patron or a YouTube member by clicking one of the links down below. So before I get started, Fomako reached out and they actually have a new firmware update that is highly recommended that you put on the controller and on your PTZs. Now, what I'm going to be doing is setting this up as if you never got this, because honestly, I don't know when you got your camera. It is August 3rd, 2022. So again, if you buy this now, they may have the firmware, it might not. So I like to just go through this whole process as if it wasn't there. But one of the great things that it did include is a tool to find out your cameras. So we're going to be going through that and all this other fun stuff. So let's go ahead and first cut over to my desktop and let's show you what you get with the download for the camera, which gives you a tool to try and find everything on your network. Alrighty, so this is the Fomako 20 SDI upgrade camera package that you can get. Now, this firmware and all this other stuff, there's instructions on how to do it. I'm not going to do that in this video, but the main thing is I want to get this app here, the Fomako IP search tool. Let's go ahead and open that. And now you can actually find the cameras on your network, whether they're on your regular IP address or they're on the default one. So right now I'm gonna pick my network. This is the IP address that I'm on my computer. And if I do search, it would show everything, but everything's not connected. So let's go over to the desktop, over to my table where I have everything set up, and let's go walk through all of that. All right, so we are here with a Fomako controller and two 20X PTZ cameras. This is actually for an install that I'm getting ready to do, and all of these are set at default. This is before the firmware update. So what does that mean? That means that all of these were set to a specific IP address. The controller was set to 192.168.5.101, and then each one of the cameras was set to 192.168.5.163. So that pretty much means that since both of these and every camera that's still in the default setting that has a static IP address will not work, because you can't have multiple devices on a network with the exact same address. But I say all that to say, if you weren't hooking any of this up to your regular network, you could just plug this straight in. And I'm just with a regular PoE switch here, and it's not connected to anything, as in no internet is connected to this. And this is without any settings at all. So if I come in here and see the setup of what I've got, I can come into this controller. So that's 15101. I can come in here and just do a search, and it finds this camera. So I can just come in here and add it, give it a number. I'll say it's number 1, and that's it. So now if I hit camera 1, boom, there you go. That is control without doing anything. And it just works coming right out the box. But most of the time you don't have a separate network just for your cameras. And honestly, I don't like doing that either, because I like all my stuff to be on the network. So if I have an issue and this camera is 30 feet up in the air, I can get to it easily from my laptop or my computer. So how do we do that? First, let's go back over let's actually, let me plug this other one up. And what we're gonna do is change all of these settings. So the first thing I need to do is get this PoE switch, and I like doing this because since all of this is powered and it gives me less cables, all I gotta do is kill the power to this, and guess what? All of my devices are off, and I don't have to worry about, getting the remote and turning everything on and off. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to connect this white line. This is going to my router. So now this whole switch is now a part of my network. So I should be able to see all this stuff. So let's go back over to my desktop here and let's see about seeing how we can get to this stuff. Alrighty, so we are going to download from Fomako. They have it's a part of the firmware update for the camera, but it has a tool that'll let you search for the cameras on your network. Now, we just connected them. So even though they're in that default IP address range that's not a part of my network, this app will allow me to still see it. So here we are. This is the Fomako IP search tool. And I'm just going to pick my network. So again, the camera is 192.168.5.163. My network is 192.168.0.20. So it's like they're in a completely different zip code. They are not naturally supposed to be able to talk to each other. But this app will allow you to see it because it's plugged into a device on your network. So let's go ahead and just do a search real quick. And boom, there we go. So it detects 2 cameras, and you can see that's where their default IP addresses are at. Now, how do you get to them? Now, you can do this on the Mac, and I don't have my Mac set up, so actually, you know what? Let's do this on the Mac. So let's give some love to the Mac folks here. And you can do this on Mac or Windows, so it doesn't matter which way that you do it. What we need to do is change our network so that our camera and our computer is on the same network so we can talk to them. So what we're going to do, let's switch this over to my Mac. Let's go ahead and log in. All right, so what we're going to do is come over here to our system preferences, and we are going to go to network. And we need to change this from DHCP, and we're going to set it to manual. And I'm going to give myself an IP address in that same range of 192.168.5. something. So I'm going to do 192.168.5. I don't know, 33. Now we have to make sure our router is set to the same thing, the one of that range of IP addresses, 192.168. Why did you change for me? 5.1. All right. So we're going to hit apply. And remember what I said, you can't have devices on your network with the exact same IP address. So since both of the cameras are exactly the same, it's going to be a race to be whichever is the first one I connect to. But we'll be able to fix that very easily. So let's do this first. Let's go open up any browser. Let's go to 192.168.5.163. And boom, we're there to our camera. And let's log in. Default password and username is admin. And I don't know which camera this is. So let me tilt this one up. And this actually is the second camera. So you see right here, that's the one that I am moving. But again, that just happened to be the second one that we connected. So, you know, like I said, it's a race. But anyway, we're here. Let's go into our configuration. We're going to go all the way over here under network configure and go to Ethernet. And we're going to check this off to DHCP. Now that means it's going to get an IP address that's handed from the router, which is good, but it is also not good. Meaning that when you have it set to DHCP, it will, in theory, it should be the exact same IP address. But especially in a church, if you have a lot of people connected on Wi-Fi, this number may change. So ultimately, I want to set it to a static IP address that is never going to change, but is actually going to work on my network. All right. So I'm going to switch this one to DHCP. And I'm going to hit reboot. So now this one will flip over and go on to my network. And that's funny that that one restarted. Like it mixed, both of these were the exact same IP address. So I really don't know why it did that. That's strange. That's why, honestly, if you were doing this, I kind of like to keep one camera at a time so you don't have any issues like that. But oh well. Now let's run this again. And now it should pick up the other camera. And there we go. That one camera is now on our network of 192.168.0.201, which is cool. All right. So now, as you can see on our Mac, the page finally came up. And since that one was 201, let's change this one to 202. Now you got to make sure that that is actually available on your network. All right, so the same way, we're going to go to config, Ethernet, check off DHCP, save, and then we're going to reboot. All right, now let's go ahead and wait to get back to our desktop here. And we're going to do a search to see where our new cameras are now set up. Now, the same thing we just did, we need to do this for our joystick. To be quite honest, the joystick is not that big of a deal if it doesn't have a static IP address, because that one needs to be coded to go to each camera. The cameras need to be stationary. The joystick doesn't, but honestly, if you're doing this, I just do them all at the same time. All right. So now let's go ahead and do our search again. Now that I got my Mac back on the regular address. So that was 201. Let's do a search again. Let's see what it gives it. All right. So now it is 201 and 107. All right. So now that I got an IP address, I want to come in and find some addresses that I can use so I can set these specifically to something. So I like to use advanced IP scanner. This will let me scan my entire network so I can get myself a range of IP addresses. So like I said, you don't want them to stand on top of each other because stuff will not work if you do it that way. So off the top of my head, after I let this scan, I'm looking for a wide range where something is not there. So right now I'm seeing nothing in the 40s to 50s. I don't see anything in the 60 to 80s. So I think I'm going to put everything in that range. Yeah, I think I'm going to put everything in the 60 range because there's nothing there. All right. So my joystick is going to be 192.168.0.60. I'm going to do the camera sequentially after that, 61, 62, 63, stuff like that. All right, so do y'all remember the numbers that we did? We don't have to, they're right there. All right, let's go ahead and open up a browser. Let's go to our first camera, and that'll be 192.168.0.107. And boom, so we're on our network, just like I normally would. And I always I like setting this up with all the cameras right in front of me, because it's very easy to make these changes when the camera is within a foot of you compared to these things being 30 feet up in the air. You want to make sure that you can connect to them. So when you put it up in the ceiling, you got the networking right, that you can easily connect to it over the network instead of having to get a ladder, pull it down, hook it back up, set it back up, put it back up, get a ladder, all that stuff. So admin. All right, so we're going to change this. Let's look at this one more time. There's still nothing in the 60 range, so we're good. So I'm going to come here to the network. I'm going to turn off DHCP, and I'm going to set this to 61. Boom. Reboot. There we go. Yes. Now the other one was 201. And there we go. Let's log into that one again. Admin. Go to configuration, Ethernet, turn off DHCP, set this one to 62. So now these are set. They're always going to be these numbers so that when you turn this off, turn it back on, boom, there you go. Now there's another step I personally would do. I would go on my router and say, these IP addresses cannot be handed out to anybody else as well. So there's like double safety to make sure that we don't automatically get the IP address going to somebody else and then you have an issue. I've had that happen before. All right, so now let's open up a new browser and we're gonna go to 192.168.0.61. There's the first camera. Let's go to another browser, 192.168.0.62. It's not loading for me. Oh, there it is. That was strange. But we're on there now, 62. Let's log in. And there we go. That was strange. Because if we turn, there's the other one right there beside it. So we're good to go. So now let's get back over here and now let's set up everything on the controller so that we can now talk to the two cameras, which are now 61 and 62. All right, so we are back over here. We got everything configured for our cameras. Now we need to set our joystick to the same thing. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. All right, so as you can see, we're on, our IP address is 5, well actually, no, that's what it's trying to point to. That's the old setting. So first, let's go over here to setup, and we're gonna come down to static. Let's go ahead and press enter or the center button on the joystick. And let's set our IP address. Now again, we are doing this as the cameras are 61 and 62. So we're gonna set this to 60. So that's 192.168.0. Push over 60. Enter. Subnet mask 255.255.255.0. And our gateway is 192.168.0.1. Enter. It's set, now it's gonna reset. All right? So now what we're gonna do is once this gives us an IP address that's on our network, we should be able, just like we did at the beginning, to do a search and find it. Now, sometimes on my network, I think I have too much security on it, so sometimes it doesn't like when it's doing a scan. So we might have to manually add these. So let's go ahead, hopefully we can just do it simply. Let's do search, and boom, we found both our cameras. So I don't know if you can see that. So we did search, and you see it's found 2, and it's on our network. So we're just gonna go ahead and hit the button here, give it a number. This is gonna be camera 1 that correlates to this one. Enter, succeed. We're gonna do another search, add the second one, which is 62. Enter, give it a camera number. That's gonna be 2. Now you can always set a number higher than this. You would have to put the address in. You would press the camera button here and then dial the address in here. So this can control up to 250 some odd cameras, but we're just using our quick access buttons. So that's what we set 2 for. And boom, that is it. So now, do we get everything working just like how we did it originally? Let's see. So we're just gonna press camera 1. It's a solid green, so we have a connection. Can we move it? Yep, there we go. All right, now let's press camera 2. Solid, we got a connection, and there we go. So that's it. That's all it takes. Now, again, I did do this the long way and showing all the other steps, but technically, once you set everything to DHCP, you can leave it at that. But for me, if this IP address changed because we set the camera to go to a specific address, if this changed, we would have to change this every single time if this changes. That's why I do the static IP addresses. Alrighty, so I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions. I want to help you make sure you get through all of this because I've had a bunch of people that said they've had issues with that. Links will be down below to all of the cameras, all of the gear that I'm using, as well as all the downloads that I was using to get this set up, including the advanced IP scanner, all this other good stuff. And again, what I did can be done on Windows or Mac, because that's what I did it on. So that's about it. So if you like this type of content, appreciate a like, consider subscribing, hit that bell. That way you get notified when we come out with other videos to help modernize your media ministry. Thanks for watching, folks. This is AJ, and we will catch you on the next video. Later.